All right, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, class. How are you today? Okay, lovely. Before we start, we need to give gratitude to God, right? Because without God, there is nothing we can achieve, right? So we thank Him for everything, for being able to be here, right? And we don't deserve anything from God because we are all sinners, right? When you read the Bible, Lamentation says, it's by the grace of God, the mercies of God, that we are surviving, right? And God's mercies, His faithfulness is renewed every day. So God has given us another opportunity today. So we thank Him and we humbly implore Him to give us His wisdom to guide us throughout the whole day, right? Okay, guys, this is going to be the third part of your ISAT. Part one was the explanation to subtask one. Part two, the explanation to subtask two, because your asset is divided into two segments, namely subtask one and subtask two. Right. So the video tutorial of today, or the lessons of today, if you will, is the presentation of the rubric. When you are doing your task or your ISET, make sure that you read the rubric, right? So that you will know exactly what is required of you, right? Okay. Now we are going to explain the rubric for the subtask one. Remember what I told you? Subtask one is about investigation. Investigation. You are going to your community to identify three businesses and investigate their services, their activities in terms of the business. I'm not saying you must go there like a CIA or a government agent asking them whether they are registered, right? You just going to get some academic knowledge from them, or practical knowledge, let me put it that way. Practical knowledge from them in terms of how they operate their business, so that you can be able to match it with your academic knowledge, what we are teaching you here, right? That place is practical. So, by virtue of that, you need to go there and pose some questions to them. We call it interviews, right? Okay. If you cannot go there to interview them face to face, if there is a way you can telephone them or WhatsApp, right? You can use WhatsApp medium to communicate with them, to pose them questions and receive responses from them. It's not a problem. Do you understand? Okay. Now, let's look at the first one, which is the subtask one. So the rubric is like this, right? Which you can as well call the checklist. The checklist to remind you about what is required of you, right? Don't worry about the way the statement is phrased here. I'm going to explain to you to blend with your understanding or to blend with your context. Right. The first one we say three entrepreneurial businesses are listed. Right. When I'm going to mark your paper, right, I will look at your paper to see whether you've done what is required. The first question, which is a subtask one, I will have to see whether you got three entrepreneurial businesses identified, right? If you identify three, then you get 1 mark each, which gonna be 3 marks. Before then, let me explain to you that the total mark for the subtask one is what? 38. You see, the mark is 38. So if you are able to identify correctly three entrepreneurial businesses, then you got 3 marks already, which will be 3 over 38. How about that? Sweet. Is it difficult? Not difficult. Now, let's go to the second bullet. We call this thing bullet. Do you know about it? Yeah. Okay. Now, the second bullet says at least 3 product stroke services rendered by the identified businesses are described. So what you need to do is you've identified the business name, right? Then you must write the type of services or product that is being sold by the business. Does it make sense to you? So each of the businesses you must write. So you see the mark allocation here, 2 marks each. If you are able to describe the product and or services rendered by the identified businesses correctly, you are going to earn yourself another 6 marks. Now, 6 plus 3, 9. You see, you are moving. 9 over 38. Right. Okay. Now, let's go to the next bullet. Right. The next bullet, what is required there? At least, younger, 2 legal registration requirements and regulatory bodies, respectively, are suggested. Right. So, what do we mean by that? 2 legal requirements. Right. We're talking in terms of the business being able to fulfill certain legal requirements or certain things that can make the business to be regarded as a registered business, right? Here you can talk about certificate of incorporation if the business is registered. You know what we mean by certificate of incorporation? Certificate of incorporation is given to businesses that are registered with Company Intellectual Property Corporation, CIPC, which is under the Ministry of Trade and Industry. For example, tomorrow, if you wake up, you want to start a business, what do? You need to register it. Where will you register it? You go to the website of CIPC, which is called Company Intellectual Property Corporation. Then you do your registration. Thereafter, you will be given a certificate of incorporation. Does it make sense to you? Do you understand? I don't know whether I've got a sample of certificate of incorporation here. Right. Then another thing you can talk about here, which is acceptable, is registration with SARS. Right? You can talk about registration with SARS because it's a legal requirement. You need to register with SARS. You need to be a tax vendor. Right? You need to pay tax to the government. You can as well talk about VAT if the company or the business is registered with VAT, because there is not all businesses that are VAT registered. You were taught in financial management. You got a kind of a threshold, right? So that one, VAT is not mandatory. You know about it, right? So you talk about that. So if the business identified falls within the realm of businesses that needs to belong to a certain regulatory body, then you need to tell us. You need to write it down. For example, for you to, let's say the business you've identified is electrical business, dealing with electrical house, electrical connections, right? All those type of stuff. You need to join the member. You need a license, right? To be able to do that. Then you can ask the owner whether you've got a license or such. But remember what I told you. When you are asking the owners, don't pose as if you are a detective, right? Otherwise, the owner gonna be scared of you, and they will not tell you what is happening, and they will not even like to continue with you because most of the people here, the local businesses, they are not registered, right? If they are not registered, I'm not going to penalize you, right? But it won't be better if you can be able to get businesses that are registered, right? Okay. Now, let's talk about the next bullet, right? What does the next bullet says? A description of a current competitors to your choosing business in terms of its offering and location is provided. What do we mean by competitors? Competitor to the identified business. Similar businesses or business, as the case may be, if you will, offering the same product, services, right? Then you should be able to identify that. We can regard that as a competitor, right? Here, we try to find out as well, we want you to identify the location of the competitor, as well as the specific product or services that is being sold by the competitor. Do you understand what I mean? So, do you understand that point? Right. Okay. Then you need to identify again a specific date of establishment for at least one business is provided. Okay, the month for that is 3 months, right? Then a description of current competitor to your choosing business in terms of, okay, guys, you see the language that is used here now, right? Competitor to your choosing business. That means only one. They didn't say businesses. You're doing English, right? First addition as a first additional language subject, right? Is it first additional language or second additional language? Are you doing first? You know what I'm talking about? Okay. So only one, right? Okay. Then a specific date of establishment for at least one business is provided. The date of establishment of the business, right? You need to provide it. You ask the owner of the business, right? Politely, you know, when did you start? When was this business established? Right? Do you understand what I mean? They will tell you, right? Don't go and be talking about ShopRite. When you say ShopRite, do you know when ShopRite was established? Even if you know that, do you know what motivated the owner? Do you know the owner of ShopRite? You see, so you must do something that identifiable. Right. Come later. Come later. Right? You want to put it, okay. As long as you will not disturb. Okay, no problem. No problem. So guys, you need to know about the specific date of establishment of at least one business. Does it make sense to you? Right. Okay. Mind you, you are on air, right? Yeah. Okay. Now, a description of the application of your relevant vocational course in the choosing business above. This is where most of you are getting a little bit confused, right? So what we are talking here is this. Remember, in the business environment or where you are going to, in the community where businesses are being conducted, that is the practical aspect of what we are teaching you here, right? Because there are a lot of stuff we are teaching you here that are being applied there. Do you understand? In the first case, why are we teaching you entrepreneurship, business what do you call it? Management practice, operations management, so that you can be able to go outside there or to go out there and apply it, right? What we are teaching you here, we are equipping you, right? Forming you, so that one of these days you can perhaps, if you like, if you are interested in starting a business, be able to register the business and run the business. So the skills and knowledge and attitude that we are giving you here, you need to go out there and put it into practice. So here we are trying to ask you, to describe the application of what we are teaching you here in the vocational course. How does it get applied in the practical way of it in the business environment? Okay, let me give you examples of what I'm talking about. Right. For example, I'm teaching you here how to start a business, right? You are being taught how to calculate the selling price of a product, costing, right? There in the business world, where you are going to, the business that you are going to interview, the owner himself do that kind of stuff. Practically know how much he or she is buying the product, right? Determine the markup and establish or formulate the selling price that he or she is willing to sell the product for him to make money, to make profit. So you are being taught here, right? For example, income statement. You are being taught about income statement. The owner there is doing it, right? For example, what you are being taught in management practice, right? How to take care of employees, right? Labor relations and all those type of stuff is being practiced there. Perhaps the type of business that you may or you are going to identify maybe a business that got employees. So if what you are being taught here is not applied there, the business cannot work properly. So what you are being taught in management practice is being applied there in terms of how to deal with employees, all those kind of stuff. Right. In operations management, you are being taught how to manage the operations or activities in a business setup, in a business environment. The owner of the businesses is the one that is in charge of managing the operational activities of his or her own business. Do you understand what I mean? So those are the things that we are talking about. Is it clear? Are you sure? Okay. Now you need to be able to uh, attack that appropriately for you to be able to earn yourself the mark allocated for that, which is 3 marks. Right. Now, let's talk to the next bullet. A target market description